November Rain is way more than just a song. It's a 9-minute epic, a mini movie with a wedding, a funeral, a guitar solo, actually 3 guitar solos, that became absolutely legendary. Behind the Calvin Klein ad grandeur and the cinematic scope lay a complex story and a mystery that's haunted fans for over 3 decades. Why did the bride have to die? Today, because a lot of you guys have requested it, and because it's November, let's take a look at the complete history of Guns N' Roses' epic ballad, November Rain, from a song a decade in the making to the tragic short story that holds a secret. Before we get started, be sure to hit that bell notification icon and put all notifications on. I hear from a lot of my subscribers that they don't even get notifications when I post my videos, or it doesn't show up on their recommended page. I would greatly appreciate if you guys did that. The story of the song starts long before the cinematic music video, before the Use Your Illusion albums, and even before Guns N' Roses existed as a band. This journey begins with frontman Axl Rose alone at a piano. Former LA Guns guitarist Tracy Guns, who was in an early band with Axl, remembered hearing the melody as early as 1983. He recalled that back then it was the only thing Axl really knew how to play on the piano, but it was profoundly his. Axl would sit at the piano, basically any piano that they came across, and play that familiar, haunting progression, telling his bandmates, someday this song is going to be really cool. To which Tracy responded, it already is cool, but it's not done. Even in that embryonic form, everyone around Axl could sense it was something special. As Guns N' Roses exploded onto the scene with their 1987 debut record Appetite for Destruction, their sound was defined by a raw street-level hard rock. It was loud and dangerous. A 9-minute orchestral piano ballad just didn't fit. An early, famously long version of November Rain was actually recorded in 1986 during sessions with producer Manny Charlton of the group Nazareth, though it was ultimately shelved for the time being. In the cold November rain. Some reports claim the demo was originally 18 minutes long, while others suggest it was even longer. Guns N' Roses drummer Matt Sorum claimed the song was originally combined with another ballad, Estranged. According to Slash, it was their A&R man Tom Zutaut from Geffen Records, who signed the group, that suggested that the band wait to record November Rain until their next full-length album, something that annoyed Axl. But as Zutaut saw it, the band already had a ballad with Sweet Child of Mine on Appetite for Destruction. It was also good advice because Axl knew the song needed a grander stage with a bigger budget and more time. But for fans who read the late 1980s interviews Axl and the band did with Rolling Stone, they got a sneak peek of what was to come. In a 1988 profile on the band, Axl told the magazine that if November Rain wasn't recorded properly, he would quit the business. He talked to Rockline in 1991, revealing why he felt this way.
The song November Rain come about, and is it true that you were going to quit the band if it didn't turn out perfect for you?
Well, it wasn't necessarily quit the band. It's just that, like, to do that song the way I wanted to do it, I knew that we were going to need a lot of freedom and a lot of time to learn how to do things that we didn't know how to do or I didn't know how to do. I mean, there's like 31 different string sections on there, and I had to do them on keyboards because I knew I didn't know how to communicate with an orchestra well enough. And just I knew that like years ago in starting writing the song that it was going to take a lot for us to pull it off the way I could hear it in my head, and it's just like I knew that like when I said I'd quit the business, it was because I knew that like the only reason I wouldn't get this right is if I wasn't allowed to. And the song came about just out of a relationship and how I felt in the relationship, and I really cared about this person, and not being with this person made me think about being in Indiana and walking in November Rain and seeing the ice on the trees, and it was just it fit how I felt about that situation.
And the song came out, I would imagine the way you heard it in your head. Because
I'm very happy with everything on the record.
Yeah.
There's a couple little things I can go timing or something, but we worked on this till we got everything right.
When the time finally came to record Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, November Rain was positioned as Axl's centerpiece, with it appearing on the first Use Your Illusion record. This was the song he had nurtured for nearly a decade, and he was uncompromising in his vision. It was songs like November Rain and Estranged, which was found on Use Your Illusion 2, became a significant source of tension within the band. According to the frontman Slash and bassist Duff McKagan, were more comfortable with straight-ahead rock and roll, and they were skeptical of the song's symphonic direction. But Axl, who was deeply influenced by artists like Elton John and Queen, envisioned a sweeping string arrangement. It was specifically two Elton John songs, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me and Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, that influenced the song. But one other influence that's sometimes overlooked was the Motley Crue song Home Sweet Home. Axl recalled in the band's Making Videos documentary, the first time I saw Home Sweet Home and watched the part he, referring to Tommy Lee, did on the piano, it made me realize that I could take what I did about piano and focus it into something simple but very serious. Because I think the part that he does on Home Sweet Home is beautiful. It's very simple, but it's the right part. And that's the approach I took with November Rain. Slash later joked, we call it the Layla song, referencing a similarly constructed rock song by Derek and the Dominoes with a long instrumental second part. The band has actually incorporated Layla on their Not in This Lifetime tour that they're currently on. In the studio, Axl meticulously used synthesizers to compose and layer the orchestral parts himself, creating that lush cinematic soundscape. Slash later recalled in the book, I've heard songs with real strings that sound less authentic. The song's structure is a journey in itself, building from a gentle piano intro into a full-blown rock opera. The lyrics penned by Axl are a meditation on love and pain, widely believed to be inspired by his turbulent relationship with his then-wife Erin Everly. Lines like, "It's hard to hold a candle in the cold November rain," speak to the struggle of keeping love alive through the hardship. Axl himself stated that the song is about unrequited love. As for the vocals, Axl told Rip Magazine in 1992, "Vocally, I purposely wanted the sound I have on that. I'm very happy with it, even though it's very abrasive. One of the things I like about the vocal roughness in November Rain is that anyone can think they can sing it as good or better. They can feel like a part of it." And then there's the guitar solos. Slash, despite his initial reservations, delivered three of the most iconic guitar solos in rock history. His playing is pure emotion, it weeps, it soars, and it rages. In his typical fashion, Slash has stated that the solos were largely improvised off the top of his head when he heard the song for the first time. That raw, spontaneous genius is what makes them feel so essential to the song's power. He may not have shared Axl's initial vision, but his guitar work became the heart and soul of the song.
The way the song spoke to me, the guitar parts just came natural, and we did a rough version of that song, albeit 20 minutes long, but a rough version of that song, and then didn't come back around to doing it on record until we did the Use Your Illusions record some 4 years later or something like that. And after all that time, the song still spoke the same way, and that solo is pretty much note for note the same from the first time I played it to the time we recorded it.
The song also features backing vocals from the late Shannon Hoon of the group Blind Melon. Hoon had grown up in the same town, Lafayette, Indiana, as Axl. Hoon contributed vocals to several songs on the Use Your Illusion records, including Live and Let Die, Don't Cry, The Garden, and You Ain't the First. Sadly, though, Shannon Hoon passed away in 1995 due to a drug overdose. Drummer Matt Sorum was brought in to replace original drummer Steven Adler, who was fired due to his debilitating heroin addiction. The Use Your Illusion records represented the first time Matt had actually played on an album with the band. Sorum had toured with The Cult and played with Tori Amos, and it was Slash and Duff who suggested the drummer to replace Adler. Sorum recalled how Axl wanted the drums to sound like Elton John's song Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, which was drummed by Nigel Olsson.
In Axl's mindset to make this grandiose piece of music. And at first, when I joined the band and the pianos were involved and the strings, I was like, whoa! I thought I was joining a two-guitar, bass, and drum band. But then I understood, and we, for songs like November Rain and Don't Cry and Estranged, these big sort of epic pieces, me and Axl sat, actually, I believe we were over there on the floor. We ordered some Russian caviar. We had a bottle of vodka. We sat here, me and Axl, late at night, and we listened to Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me by Elton John. And he was a huge Elton fan, He loves Elton. And we were eating the caviar and drinking shots of vodka, and this big epic tom fill came by. Axl goes, I want you to do that. something like that on November Rain. And I want you to mark every section with a signature musical fill that will just be representative of not only that song, but I want you to use it again as a little snippet in Don't Cry, and I want you to do it again in Strange. I said, you want me to do the same drum fill? He said, yes. So I was like, okay. So I did the most famous fill that drummers give me shit for all the time. It's called the Pat Boone, Debbie Boone. And it goes, Pat Boone, Debbie Boone, right? And when I played that, Axl said, I love that. And I want you to do it here, 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 and here. And then he sat in there on the piano, and I was out there. And we went around the cymbals, too. And he played notes on the piano. And when I go to this chord, I want you to hit that cymbal. And I hit it. He thought he'd hear like a G note in it, and maybe there was a C and the other cymbal. When I go to this chord, I want you to hit that cymbal. And so we worked out this whole thing, just me and him, and the rest of the band came in. You know, they were out doing whatever.
Sorum recalled hearing November Rain for the first time in its final form on Twitter, telling his followers, Axl first played the finished version of November Rain for me in the parking lot of El Compadre Studios on Sunset Boulevard. He had a killer car stereo. Slash and Duff stayed inside drinking. Released on September 17th, 1991, Guns N' Roses did something few bands had dared to do. They dropped 2 albums on the same day, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. And in doing so, they made the history books. Use Your Illusion 2 topped the Billboard album chart for the week of its release, with Use Your Illusion 1 coming in a close second. That was a feat that hadn't been done since 1974 by Jim Croce, shortly before he passed away. Each album sold about 700,000 copies in its first week of release. November Rain was released as the 3rd single from Use Your Illusion 1, and it came out around June of '92. It was a massive success, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. It was also a global hit, going top 10 in several countries outside of the States, and it was Guns N' Roses' last top 10 hit in America. At nearly 9 minutes long, it became the longest song ever to enter the top 10 at the time, something that lasted nearly 2 decades, until Taylor Swift dethroned it in 2021 with her extended version of All Too Well. But the song was only half the story. The next chapter would transform November Rain from a hit into a cultural phenomenon. Despite the song being a massive radio hit, some stations chose to play a shortened version of it, not including the outro solo. In the early 90s, the music video was king. For Axl Rose, a music video wasn't just a promotional tool, it was a canvas. With November Rain, he was thinking of a film, and not just one film, but a trilogy. The mini-movie trilogy spanning Don't Cry, November Rain, and Estranged was based on a short story titled Without You, written by his close personal friend Del James. The story, which appears in the collection The Language of Fear, is a dark tale of a rock star named Maine, a character based on Axl whose life spirals out of control after his girlfriend Elizabeth unalives herself. This was the source material that Axl wanted to bring to the screen. To direct the project, the band hired Andy Morahan, who had directed Faith by George Michael, and he had previously worked with Guns N' Roses on the videos for Don't Cry and You Could Be Mine. For the female lead, Axl cast his real-life girlfriend at the time, supermodel Stephanie Seymour. Axl had seen Seymour about a year earlier on a magazine cover and wanted her to be in the music video for Don't Cry, which she appeared in. It wasn't long after that the pair started dating. This blending of fiction and reality added another layer of drama to the whole saga. The budget was astronomical, reportedly costing over $1.5 million for the music video, making it one of the most expensive videos ever produced at the time. The iconic white church where Slash performs his guitar solos wasn't real. The crew had a church facade transported to the New Mexico desert for one shot. Slash later recalled the terrifying experience of filming the scene with helicopters flying directly at him at high speeds to get the sweeping camera angles. November Rain was designed as the second act. The first video, Don't Cry, sets up the turbulent relationship, showing Axl and Stephanie's characters in a heated argument. November Rain was meant to be the hopeful turning point, opening with their wedding. For a moment, it seemed like their troubled past was behind them, but this is a Guns N' Roses story, and happiness is fleeting. The sky darkens, a storm rolls in, and chaos erupts in one of the video's most talked about moments. A wedding guest dives headfirst through the giant wedding cake to escape the rain. The man who performed the stunt was none other than Ricky Rackman, the host of MTV's Headbangers Ball, the very show where the video would have its world premiere.
Now is the time that you've all been waiting for. Now is the time that the entire world has been waiting for. It's the world premiere of Guns N' Roses' November Rain video, or November Rain film, if you will. A little bit about the song November Rain. November Rain is actually one of the oldest Guns N' Roses songs. I mean, it was done even before Appetite for Destruction was put out. And back in the old days, it used to be like 15 minutes long. I remember anytime you would get Axl by a piano, he would play November Rain. And I think that song and actually Estranged are probably two of the most beautiful rock and roll songs maybe of all time. And I think 20 years down the line, we'll still be hearing November Rain on the radio. It's a brilliant song. Now about the video. The video was recorded in surround sound, so if you happen to be extremely wealthy, you may have surround sound at your house, or even if you've got a good stereo system, turn it up because it's going to sound amazing. Visually, the video is completely amazing. It was done on film. And I don't want to spoil too much about it, so I'll talk to you a little bit after the video. I do want to tell you that the girl in it is supermodel Stephanie Seymour. And watch the video, especially real closely at the people sitting at the wedding table. Here it is, the world premiere of a very amazing video. Here's Guns N' Roses' November Rain.
This sudden downpour is the November rain made literal, an unforeseen tragedy that shatters a moment of happiness. The scene then abruptly cuts to a somber funeral. We're back at the same church, but now Axl is a widower and his bride is dead. The central question is, what happened? For decades, the death of Stephanie Seymour's character has been the great enigma of November Rain. The video gives us a wedding and then a funeral with no explanation, leaving fans left to speculate. To solve the mystery, we have to return to the source, Del James's short story Without You. In the story, the rock star Maine is haunted by the death of his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth, who takes her own life with a gun after he repeatedly cheated on her. This is the grim secret at the core of the trilogy. Though the video never explicitly states this, it's filled with visual clues. The most significant clue comes during the funeral. As Axl stands over the casket, we see a close-up of Stephanie Seymour's face. The right side of her face is covered by a mirror or a metallic plate. This has been interpreted for years as a clever way to hide the fatal injury from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, just like in the story. The video couldn't show such a graphic image on MTV, so the director Andy Morahan used this symbolic imagery to imply the cause of death. Morahan himself has said that the ambiguity was intentional, stating it made for a fantastic kind of talking point. Even the band members weren't entirely clear on the plot of the video. Slash famously admitted in interviews that he never really understood the story. The intricate symbolic narrative was Axl's baby.
Question coming in from the HuffPost Live community. Anya Streisman says, Slash, what was the video for November Rain actually about? After all these years and even walking down the aisle to the song, and she's not kidding, she really did this, I'm still not sure I get it.
Is that who I met earlier?
That is who you met. That
yeah.
is her right there.
All right, 'cause, you know what, to tell you the truth, I have no idea. Well, it was a concept. I mean, you know, the song itself is pretty self-explanatory, but the video is so complex. And I remember, you know, when Axl was writing it, it was so epic, it was like a movie. And I, not being a huge fan of videos and making videos especially, I just showed up for my scenes. You know, I write my own scene, and this is what I want to do in my section. I never paid attention to the rest of the whole production, so at the end of the day, I never really knew. I knew there was a wedding in there somewhere, and I was not into the concept of the wedding.
Really?
And frowned upon it. Yeah.
Really? Why?
I don't know. Just because that seemed to me like what I would do, I guess, you know.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
The real-life drama between Axl and Stephanie Seymour adds another layer. Their volatile relationship ended acrimoniously in early 1993, not long after the videos were filmed. Things got ugly and she sued him and he countersued her, and this real-life breakup had a profound impact on the final chapter for the video for Estranged. The narrative shifted and Estranged became a sprawling, surreal epic about Axl's personal sense of isolation and loneliness. It deviates from the original story, focusing more on Axl's emotional state post-breakup, both in fiction and in real life. The mystery of the bride's death, therefore, is the tragic climax of the story that blurred the lines between art, reality, and rock and roll mythology. When the dust finally settled, November Rain wasn't just a song or a video, it was a cultural landmark. It represented the absolute peak of rock and roll excess. Its constant rotation on MTV made it ubiquitous, and it's often cited by fans and media as one of the most requested videos in the channel's history. At the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards, the band performed the song with an orchestra and Elton John. It was a few months after that the band was playing a show in Bogota, Colombia, when the concert was hit by a torrential downpour that briefly stopped while the band actually played November Rain. Slash remembered it as being one of the most magical moments of the whole Use Your Illusion tour. 2 years after November Rain came out, Axl inducted Elton John and Bernie Taupin into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, stating in his speech, "For myself as well as others, no one has been there more for inspiration than Elton John." Also, when we talk about the great rock duos like Jimmy Page and Robert, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, Mick and Keith, I like to think of Elton John and Bernie Taupin. That night became Axl Rose's final public appearance for nearly 6 years, as Guns N' Roses soon disintegrated in the following years, and they soon entered the Chinese democracy era. Years later, thanks to the rise of YouTube, November Rain found a new generation of fans. In July of 2018, it made history as the first music video from the 90s to surpass 1 billion views. Then in February of 2023, it crossed another monumental threshold. It became the first rock video from the 90s to reach 2 billion views on the platform. When the band issued their remastered version of the Use Your Illusion records a few years ago, the band included a new version of November Rain dubbed 2022 version that replaces the synths with a 50-piece orchestra. On January 22nd, 2023, Axl performed a shortened solo version of November Rain during the memorial service of Lisa Marie Presley in Graceland. You guys may not know this, but Axl was a huge fan of Elvis growing up. November Rain is often seen as the last great spectacle of its kind. As cinematographer Mike Southon put it, the video was the last of the dinosaurs before the meteorite, and the meteorite was grunge. Just as Guns N' Roses were releasing their multi-million-dollar epics, a new sound was emerging from Seattle. Bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam championed a raw, stripped-down aesthetic that was the antithesis of the cinematic grandeur of November Rain. The era of the high-concept rock video was now coming to an end. But that's precisely what makes November Rain so enduring. It's a perfect time capsule of a moment when a band was so big and an artist was so ambitious that they could create a 9-minute symphonic rock ballad with a corresponding short film and have the entire world watching. It's a monument to a time when rock stars weren't just musicians, they were myth makers. But what are your theories on the video? Do you believe the bride's death was in fact self-inflicted, like in the short story, or do you have another interpretation? That brings us to the end of today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.